Please, let my daughter go. She is so innocent. Sarah Miller's voice trembled, her eyes held fear, and her tone carried that helplessness that could break any mother. She sat on the ground, hands clasped, begging before this man who, at this moment, looked more like a tyrant ruler than a human being. Cameron Hayes's advancing steps halted for a moment. His black boots froze on the red carpet. He turned his neck to look at the woman who used to be his mother's best friend. And then, this same woman had turned his mother's laughing, smiling world into a living hell. Today, that same woman was begging for her daughter's life. A toxic smile emerged on Cameron's lips. The lava of years-old hatred was blazing in his eyes. The entire hall, which just moments ago was echoing with bridal shower cheers and wedding songs, was now silent. Fear reigned everywhere. Guests stood cowering against the walls, and the bride, Nora Bennett, who just moments ago was weaving dreams of her new life's journey, now stood trembling in a corner, a shivering existence. Innocent? Cameron chewed on the word. My mother was innocent too, Sarah Miller. Do you remember? She was also falling at your feet begging for her dignity and happiness just like this. What did you do then? The echo of his voice shook Sarah Miller to her core. She couldn't say anything, just shook her head in denial while weeping. The match had been arranged with such difficulty, and today it was broken. Sarah Miller sobbed as she pointed toward the wedding party, which was now preparing to leave. The groom and his parents were watching this spectacle with disdain. In their eyes, Nora Bennett had now become suspicious. Cameron cast a glance at the decorated stage where Nora Bennett's would-be husband stood adjusting his bow tie. Then he looked back at Sarah Miller. When you didn't think of my mother, why should I? He said with hatred as he stepped forward. His tone held coldness and severity. With a jerk, he grabbed Nora Bennett's hand. No, let me go! For God's sake, let me go! Nora Bennett screamed. Her white wedding gown felt heavy on her body. The makeup on her face was running with her tears, staining her cheeks black. She was resisting, but Cameron's grip was too strong. Ah! A sob escaped Nora's mouth when Cameron dragged her mercilessly. I'm warning you, don't anyone dare try to move. Cameron's private security guards aimed their guns. Nora's father, who wanted to step forward to save his daughter, was rendered helpless at gunpoint in an instant. Cameron, fear God, don't commit this cruelty, Nora's father pleaded with folded hands. But Cameron Hayes was not in the mood to listen today. He had come with a decision made. He dragged Nora Bennett toward the special room adjacent to the hall that was reserved for the bride's rest. Nora Bennett's feet were scraping against the ground. Mom! Dad! Save me! Her screams were heart-wrenching, but among the hundreds of people present, no one had the courage to stand up to the city's most powerful tycoon, Cameron Hayes. The room door closed with a loud bang, followed by the sound of the lock clicking from the inside. Outside, a deathly silence fell. Sarah Miller began to wail and cry. She ran toward the closed door and started beating on it. Open the door! My child! Oh, my child! Cameron, you will be destroyed! You have ruined my flower-like child! But the door did not open. Whispers began in the hall. This girl is done for. She is locked in a room with a strange man. Who will marry her after this scandal? The groom's father looked at Nora's father with contempt. Mr. Bennett, we are decent people. We cannot make a girl part of our family who has been locked in a room with a strange man openly on her wedding day like this. Our party is leaving. No, don't do this. My daughter is innocent. That beast took her by force. Nora's father was ready to fall at their feet. But the groom's family did not stop. They turned away, and with their departure, Nora Bennett's remaining reputation turned to dust. Time was crawling. Every single moment felt as heavy as a century. Sarah Miller had become lifeless, leaning against the door. Her eyes had turned to stone. No sound was coming from inside, neither screaming nor crying, and this silence was more terrifying than the noise outside. Exactly half an hour later, the sound of the room's door opening was heard. Everyone's breath stopped. The door opened, and Cameron Hayes stepped out. There was satisfaction on his face. He calmly buttoned his coat. There was a slight sheen of sweat on his forehead, and his hair was a bit disheveled. He cast a glance at Sarah Miller sitting on the ground, and then looked at the empty hall where there was no sign of the groom's family. Sarah Miller stood up with a jerk. She lunged toward Cameron's collar like a madwoman, but the guards stopped her. "You have destroyed my daughter, you cruel man!" she screamed, the extremity of pain in her voice. "You have reduced her life to ashes. Who will accept her now? You have ripped out my heart, Cameron." Cameron adjusted his sleeves and smiled in a very cold tone. That was not a smile, it was a slap. "Well, I didn't intend to, but circumstances arose such that I had to get married." He shrugged in a nonchalant manner. This sentence left everyone standing there in shock. Sarah Miller's eyes widened with surprise and shock. "What?" Nora's father's lips moved. Cameron took a cigar from his pocket, lit it, and blew the smoke into the air. "Obviously, your daughter is now in such a state that no one else will accept her. The fiancé is gone, and after the half hour she spent with me, a stain has been placed on her character that can only be washed away by my name." There was so much poison in his words that Sarah Miller wished the earth would split open and swallow her. This man had not just hurt their daughter, he had trampled their honor and their pride under his feet. Whether he had caused physical harm or not, he had murdered Nora Bennett's reputation. "Father," Cameron called out to the priest. The priest who was to officiate the wedding, standing there terrified, stepped forward trembling. "Prepare the marriage papers, right now, right here." Cameron's order was final. "But the girl's consent," the priest stammered. Cameron turned and looked inside the open door. Nora Bennett was sitting on the floor, her head on her knees, her existence trembling. She looked like a living corpse. "The girl is willing. She values her honor," Cameron said sarcastically, and then looked at Nora's parents. "And I am sure you people also wouldn't want to keep your daughter sitting at home listening to people's taunts for the rest of her life. Get the signatures." The atmosphere of the room was mournful. This was not a wedding. It was a funeral, the funeral of Nora Bennett's dreams. Sarah Miller was weeping soundlessly. The father's back was broken. The formal wedding proceedings began. "Do you, Nora Bennett, take Cameron Hayes as your lawful husband?" Nora lifted her head. Her red eyes held questions, complaints, but in the eyes of Cameron standing before her, there was only the coldness of revenge. With trembling hands, she signed the marriage license. "I do." Her voice was so faint it could barely be heard. Cameron signed the papers. There was a triumphant smile on his face. He leaned in close to Sarah Miller and said, "The score is settled, Sarah Miller. You snatched her husband from my mother. I snatched her entire life from your daughter. Now keep her safe. She is my wife." He emphasized the word wife so much that it felt like an insult. Shortly after the wedding, he disappeared as if he had never been there. He didn't take her with him, said no words, made no promises. He had just come like a storm, turned everything upside down, bound Nora Bennett to his name, and then dissolved into thin air. Nora Bennett remained sitting on the carpet. The dust stain on her white gown now looked like bloodstains to her. The hall had emptied. Only scattered flowers, overturned chairs, and a devastated bride remained, who was now Cameron Hayes's legal wife, a wife whom her husband had left there as a symbol of revenge. Sarah Miller hugged her daughter and began to scream and cry. "I have destroyed you, Nora. This all happened because of me." The tears had dried in Nora's eyes. She was staring into the void. She was remembering Cameron Hayes's last look. She felt that this was a journey of torment that had only just begun. "Write my report. Why aren't you writing? Is my crime that I am an ordinary citizen?" Nora Bennett's voice echoed in the dirty, tobacco-smelling room of the police station. She was standing in front of the chief officer's desk. Her tone was trembling, but there was a strange stubbornness in her eyes. The look of the decorated bride from a week ago was now ruined. Her face was pale, and there were dark circles around her eyes, proving nights of sleeplessness. Officer Walker took a long sip from the coffee cup on the desk and looked up at Nora with great annoyance. Her old father, standing beside her, had his head bowed as if he had already given up. "Miss, don't make noise. This is a police station, not your dad's house," Officer Walker said carelessly. "I have been listening to your rambling story for the last 10 minutes. You say you were assaulted, but you yourself are saying that you got married, signed the papers. Now will you call marriage an assault? What will the law say?" "That was not a marriage, officer. That was force. That was coercion." Nora Bennett leaned over the desk. Tears were swimming in her eyes, but she didn't want to let them fall. Signatures were taken at gunpoint. Is there no punishment in the law for forced marriage? That man kidnapped me from a full gathering, locked me in a room, and then forced me to say yes through his power. You call this a marriage? Officer Walker opened a file and spoke without looking at it. Look, miss, don't give me this movie dialogue. Were there witnesses? Witnesses, Nora said bitterly. Apart from my parents, everyone present was watching the spectacle. Everyone was scared. So the priest performed the ceremony, right? You signed the license, right? The officer raised an eyebrow in a questioning manner. When you signed, the matter ended. Now you are his wife. If he beats you, file a petition for domestic violence. Don't stage this kidnapping drama. We have a lot of other work. Nora's father tried to gather courage and step forward. Sir, my child's life has been destroyed. That man disappeared after marrying her. It's been a week. He hasn't looked back. He only came to humiliate her. Please file the report. We will go to court. Officer Walker slammed his hand on the desk. Hey, mister, against whom should I write the report? Will you fight the wind? Tell me the name of this hero who did all this. So far, you people are talking in riddles. Nora Bennett took a deep breath. The burden of this name lay on her chest like a stone. Cameron Hayes. As soon as this name left Nora's lips, a sudden silence fell over the room in the police station. Officer Walker, who was just about to lift the coffee cup again, froze with his hand in the air. He slowly placed the cup back on the table and leaned back in his chair. The annoyance had vanished from his face. Whose name did you say? Officer Walker's voice was low but hard. Cameron Hayes. Nora repeated the name with more strength this time. The same one who owns big factories, whose name appears in the newspapers. He is the one who did all this. Now, write the report. Officer Walker took a long breath and shook his head in denial. He closed the open register on the desk and put the pen in his pocket. Go home, miss, he said decisively. Nora couldn't believe her ears. What do you mean? You won't write the report? Report? Officer Walker laughed sarcastically. You want me to write a report against the most powerful man in the city? That is Cameron Hayes. We know him. Half the system of this city runs on his signals. If I even lifted a pen against him, tomorrow my badge would be stripped off, and I would be transferred to some unknown place. So is the law only for the poor? Nora's voice rose. Her blood was boiling. He is a criminal. He has destroyed my life, and you are worried about your job? You are a police officer. Your job is to protect us. Lower your voice, the officer bellowed. This emotionalism looks good in TV shows. The reality is, girl, that if you try to take action against him, he will make your life a living hell. He is a Hayes. His army of lawyers will crush you people. You have only seen his anger so far, not his power. Nora's father grabbed Nora's arm. Daughter, let's go. They won't listen. I told you these are big people. We can't do anything against them. Let's go from here. No, Dad. Nora shook off his arm. She went close to the desk. I will not go anywhere until they register my complaint. If you don't write the report, I will call the media. Officer Walker stood up. He walked around the desk in anger and came close to Nora. His stature was large and his manner threatening. Look, girl, don't force me. I am explaining to you decently. You are his legal wife. If he wants, he can drag you to his house through the police via a court notice. Being a wife, if you file a report against him, you will get trapped yourself. He will prove that you are a mental patient or something else. He paused for a moment and then whispered, And listen, Cameron Hayes is very bad at enmity. He only married you and left you. Be thankful he spared your life. If you lift a finger against his dignity, he will do such things to your old father and this helpless mother that you will beg for death, but won't get it. This sentence pierced Nora's heart like an arrow. She turned and looked at her father, who was standing by the door, trembling. There was helplessness in his eyes. Nora's courage wavered for a moment. She could fight her war, but she couldn't sacrifice her parents any further. So what should I do? Nora's voice broke. Tears finally flowed. Should I die? Should I quietly tolerate this humiliation? He used me like a tissue paper and threw me away, and I shouldn't even make a sound? Officer Walker sat back in his chair. His tone was now a little softer, but final. "This is the world, miss. Go to your home. Pray to God that he forgets you and sends the divorce papers. If you get into the cycle of courts, whatever honor is left will be auctioned off too. No one in this entire station has the courage to write a report against Cameron Hayes." The officer signaled to a subordinate. "Escort them out." A constable stepped forward. "Let's go, miss. Sir has said it. Don't waste time." Nora Bennett looked at Officer Walker with hate-filled eyes. "Today, out of fear of a powerful man, you have rejected the plea of an oppressed person. Remember, officer, Cameron Hayes is not God, and neither are you. My case will now be registered where no bribery works." She turned and walked out quickly. Coming outside, she looked at the sky. The sun was scorching. "Dad!" She held her father's hand, who was still in shock. "Yes, daughter." He spoke in a tearful voice. "Let's go home. The police won't help us." Nora adjusted her coat. The tears in her eyes had dried, and now there was a cold determination there. "But daughter, what will happen now?" "Now, what I want will happen," Nora said slowly. "Cameron Hayes started the war. I will end it. If he is above the law, I will show him what nature's law is." She walked down the police station stairs. Behind her, Officer Walker opened the register, but his mind wasn't on work. Nora's last words were echoing in his ears. He frustratedly picked up the phone and dialed a number. "Hello, sir. Yes, this is Walker speaking." His tone became filled with flattery. "Yes, sir. That girl came." "Yes, Nora Bennett. She was insisting on filing a report against you." "No, sir. I chased her away." "Don't worry. No report will be filed." "Yes, sir. I just wanted to inform you." The officer hung up the phone and breathed a sigh of relief. He thought he had suppressed the matter, but he didn't know that a spark buried under the ashes sometimes burns down the entire forest. On the other side, Nora Bennett sat in a taxi watching the city's rushing roads. In her hand, inside her purse, was that piece of paper she had seen at the wedding. She knew this path was full of thorns, but destroying Cameron Hayes's peace had now become the sole purpose of her life. "Your Honor, this is not merely a matter of marriage. This is an open violation of a woman's freedom, her consent, and her basic human rights. My client, Miss Nora Bennett, was forced to say, 'I do' at gunpoint, under the shadow of fear and pressure. In the eyes of the law, a confession taken by force is no confession." Advocate Sharon's powerful voice echoed in the courtroom. She stood confidently before the judge, wearing a black suit and holding a file. She was a lawyer for a famous NGO who had taken Nora Bennett's case into her hands when the police and other institutions refused to help the girl. On the other side, in the dock, stood Cameron Hayes, dressed in an extremely expensive grey suit, an expensive watch on his hand, and a calm, rather somewhat bored smile on his face. It looked as if he was sitting in a business meeting where he knew the deal was going to be in his favour. There was no shadow of fear or remorse on his face. Beside him stood his lawyer, Advocate James, who was a renowned lawyer of the city. "Objection, Your Honour." Advocate James adjusted his glasses on his nose and intervened. "My learned friend is getting emotional. The court runs on evidence, not emotions. Look at this marriage certificate. Mrs. Nora Hayes's signatures are present on it. The priest was present there. Witnesses were present. Now, if a husband and wife have a disagreement after marriage, court time should not be wasted by calling it kidnapping." Nora Bennett sat trembling in the back seat of the courtroom. Cameron's very presence was enough to suffocate her. Sharon turned to look at James and then addressed the judge. "Your Honor, the signatures are present. We are not denying that, but under what circumstances did those signatures happen? A full wedding party was held hostage. The bride was dragged by her hair and locked in a room. Is this a normal way to get married? I have a list of all the guests who were present there at that time. Although they are scared, the truth is that Cameron Hayes has misused his power." The judge looked at both parties over his glasses. The pen was twirling in his fingers. "Advocate James, your client faces serious allegations, kidnapping and forced marriage. What do you have to say about this?" James smiled. "Your Honor, my client, Cameron Hayes, is a respected figure in the city. These allegations are baseless. Actually, the girl's family was demanding a huge amount in the prenuptial agreement, prenup, which my client refused to give, so this drama was staged. We got married. Now she is legally his wife, and she should go to her husband's house. Lies! Nora Bennett stood up from her seat. Her patience had run out. He is lying. My parents didn't ask for any money from this animal. This man has ruined me. Order! Order! The judge slammed the gavel on the desk. Miss, please mind the court's decorum. Your lawyer is present to speak. Sharon immediately went to Nora and signaled her to sit. Have courage, Nora. Let me speak. Then she came back. Look, Your Honor, the girl's condition speaks for itself. We have filed a suit to declare the marriage null and void, annulment, against Cameron Hayes. We want the court to terminate this marriage and punish Cameron Hayes under the charges of harassment and kidnapping. Cameron Hayes broke his silence for the first time. He leaned forward slightly, not close to the mic, just enough so his voice could reach the judge. His tone was extremely soft but toxic. Your Honor, I am ready to take my wife home. I married her with honor. If she is angry with me, this is a domestic matter. What is the need to bring the court in between? I am ready to take Nora with me, even today. A shiver ran through Nora's body at this sentence. Going with him. That was worse than death. Sharon reacted immediately. Absolutely not, Your Honor. My client's life is in danger. She cannot stay with this man for even a minute. We request the court that until the case is decided, Cameron Hayes be stopped from going near Nora Bennett. Restraining order. The judge started writing notes. Advocate James checked his watch. Your Honor, we need time to answer these allegations. The police report request that my learned friend submitted was already rejected by the police because there was no evidence. Now she is repeating the same baseless things in court. Grant us a reprieve so we can submit our written response. Sharon objected. These are delaying tactics, Your Honor. This girl is in agony with every passing day. The judge closed the file. After hearing the arguments of the parties, the court grants Cameron Hayes' lawyer 2 weeks to submit a written response. During this time, Nora Bennett will be provided temporary protection, and Cameron Hayes is warned not to try to contact Nora Bennett or her family directly. The next hearing of the case will be on the 15th. A slight smile of victory appeared on Cameron Hayes' face. He knew what a date meant in the legal system. Date after date, and then a journey of years. He calmly moved from his place, buttoned his coat, and moved towards the exit with his lawyer. On his way out, he passed close to Nora Bennett and Sharon. His steps paused. He put his sunglasses on and, looking at Nora, said softly, Rest for 2 weeks, Mrs. Hayes. After that, you have to come to my house anyway. Fulfill your hobby of getting pushed around in courts. He looked at Sharon and nodded sarcastically. Good luck, counselor. You will need it. After that, he exited surrounded by his bodyguards. Nora Bennett kept watching him go. Her heart was beating fast. Sharon gathered her file and came close to Nora. Despair was swimming in Nora's eyes. Madam, he won, didn't he? He got a date. That's what he wanted, for the matter to drag on. Nora's voice choked up. Sharon placed a firm hand on Nora's shoulder and brought her to the court corridor. Nora, look at me. Sharon's tone was not that of a lawyer, but of a big sister. He hasn't won. He has only gained time. You will fight until you defeat him. Today you stood in court. You looked him in the eye and called him a liar. This is your first victory. Can we really win? She asked with suppressed hope. Sharon nodded with confidence. Yes, we will win, Nora. The media is now picking up this case. His reputation, his business, everything will be at stake. At the next hearing, I will tear that marriage certificate to shreds. Just stand by your statement. I will stand by it. There was no trembling in Nora's tone now. I can die, but I will never go to that man's house. Stepping out of the court premises, Nora looked at that tall building once more. I swear that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Standing in the witness box of the court, a middle-aged man, Andrew Smith, said in a trembling voice. He was a guest at that wedding and an old friend of Nora's father. Advocate Sharon had persuaded him to testify with great difficulty. Sharon came to the rostrum and pointed toward Andrew Smith. Mr. Smith, Tell the court what happened that night. Did Cameron Hayes apply any pressure there? Andrew Smith cast a glance at Cameron, who was sitting comfortably with his lawyer, but there was a cold warning in his eyes. Andrew Smith swallowed hard and looked at the judge. Yes, Your Honor. There was a lot of fear there. Cameron Sir came with his guards. They had guns in their hands. They surrounded the entire hall. Nora, the daughter, was crying, but Cameron Sir dragged her forcibly into the room. We were all helpless. There was no consent there. Silence fell over the court. This statement was very heavy. A wave of satisfaction ran across Sharon's face. She called another witness. This was a catering boy. He also repeated the same thing. Judge, signatures were obtained on the papers at gunpoint. The bride was about to faint. Sharon closed the file and looked at the judge. Your Honor, the statements of 2 independent witnesses have proved that this was not a marriage, but kidnapping and forced marriage. Cameron Hayes has made a mockery of the law. It is my request that this marriage be annulled and my client be given justice. The judge nodded. The case was going in Nora Bennett's favor. Cameron's lawyer James was wiping sweat. He whispered in Cameron's ear. Sir, the matter is worsening. The testimonies have weakened our stance. If the decision happens now, a kidnapping charge could be filed against you. We will have to do something else. That artificial smile vanished from Cameron's face, which he had been wearing until now. A cunning glint appeared in his eyes. He signaled James to stay quiet and stood up from his seat. Your Honor, may I say something? Cameron's heavy voice echoed. The judge looked at him. Yes, speak. Cameron came to the witness box. His entire demeanor had changed. Your Honor, Cameron said in a low tone, what the witnesses are saying is true. I do not deny it. A wave of surprise ran through the courtroom. Sharon was startled. Nora lifted her head and looked at him. What trick was this? I admit my method was wrong. I was angry, burning in the fire of revenge. What happened to my family in the past had blinded me. But he took a long pause and then spoke in a very emotional manner. But after the wedding, when I saw Nora, I realized my mistake. I confess I committed a transgression, but Your Honor, I am Catholic. I do not believe in divorce. I want to honor this relationship. What nonsense is this? Sharon spoke up angrily. Your Honor, he is lying to escape punishment. Let him speak, the judge interrupted. Cameron continued speaking. His voice was now trembling. Judge, I have started loving Nora. I want to give her all the respect and status that is a wife's right. I want to take her to my home and make amends for my mistakes. I cannot leave her. He folded his hands. The court should give me a chance. Divorce is not the solution to any problem. Nora is my honor. I cannot watch my wife being dragged through courts. Advocate James immediately seized the opportunity. Your Honor, if my client admits his mistake and wants to settle down, the law also encourages reconciliation. Divorce should be the last resort. This is a matter of 2 families. Sharon came to the rostrum, her face red with anger. Your Honor, this is merely a drama. How can a person who married at gunpoint claim love? My client is unsafe with him. We do not want reconciliation. We want an annulment. The judge took off his glasses, placed them on the table, and looked at both parties. The judicial system often emphasizes reconciliation. Cameron's remorse and desire to settle down had turned the direction of the case. The judge began to announce the decision. The court has reviewed all statements and testimonies. Although Cameron Hayes's initial behavior was reprehensible, since he now admits his mistake and wants to give married life a chance, and the marriage has become a legal reality, the court cannot order the termination of the marriage immediately. Tears started flowing from Nora's eyes. Sharon helplessly punched the table with her fist. The court orders the parties to spend a reconciliation period of at least 6 months. During this time, Nora Bennett will live with her husband. Cameron Hayes will be bound to take care of Nora's protection and needs. If after 6 months Nora Bennett still feels that she is not happy in this relationship, she can apply for divorce again. No! Nora Bennett stood up from her seat and screamed. Judge, this is cruelty. He will kill me. I don't want to go with him. But there was no one to listen to Nora. The decision had been made. Cameron Hayes had thrown dust in the eyes of the law. He got up from his seat and came straight to Nora Bennett, who was weeping bitterly. He leaned down and whispered in Nora's ear, "I told you, 2 weeks? I had to stage the love drama, but now you are legally in my prison. 6 months is a lot, Nora. A lot to break a human being." He straightened up and spoke loudly so everyone could hear. "Let's go, Mrs. Hayes. I will send the car tomorrow. Be ready to shift home." The next morning, a shiny black limousine from Hayes Mansion was parked outside Nora Bennett's house. Nora Bennett was wearing the same simple suit. Her parents stood at the door, crying profusely. "Forgive me, daughter. I am a failed father." Nora's eyes were dry. "Don't cry, you people. I am going, right? Pray that my corpse doesn't come back next time." She turned and walked toward the car. Half an hour later, the car stopped in front of the gigantic iron gate of Hayes Mansion. This was the palace people stopped to look at, but today it looked like the world's most expensive prison to Nora. The car stopped in the driveway. Nora opened the door and stepped out. Cameron Hayes was standing on the stairs in front, a drink glass in his hand. He smiled, seeing her. "Welcome home, Mrs. Cameron Hayes." He spread his arms in welcome. "Welcome to your hell." Nora lifted her head and looked into Cameron's eyes. "Hell is found after death, Cameron. You have given it to me while I'm still alive. Just remember, something burning in the fire doesn't always become ash. Sometimes it becomes a diamond." Cameron's smile faded. "Let's see if you become ash or a diamond. Come inside. The game has just begun." Cameron turned and went inside. Nora Bennett took a deep breath, took God's name, and crossed the threshold of Hayes Mansion. "Your Honor, I cannot stay with this man for even one more moment. How can I spend the rest of my life with the man who left me unable to meet my parents' gaze?" Nora Bennett's voice echoed in the courtroom. This voice was not of the scared, timid girl from 6 months ago, but of a woman who had learned to become gold by burning in the fire. Cameron Hayes stood opposite her. These 6 months had ruined his appearance. There were dark circles around his eyes, and the arrogance on his face had now turned into helplessness. The judge adjusted his glasses on his nose and closed the file. "Miss, the court gave you both 6 months. Cameron Hayes says he is remorseful for his mistake. Will you not reconsider your decision?" Nora sighed coldly and looked at Cameron. "Your Honor, when glass breaks, trying to put it back together only injures the hands. The wounds Cameron has given me cannot be healed by any apology. Life without self-respect is worse than death, and I die every day in this man's house." Cameron spoke up impatiently. "Nora, please don't do this. I have changed. Your silence has changed me. Give me one more chance." "Chance?" Nora laughed bitterly. "You should have given a chance when I was falling at your feet begging. Then your pride was riding high on your head. Today, when the grip of the law is tightening, you remembered love? This is not love, Cameron. This is your fear of defeat. You don't know how to lose, but today you have lost." Advocate Sharon stood up from her seat. "Your Honor, my client's stance is absolutely clear. The law does not force a woman to live against her will with such a person. This is not married life, it is imprisonment. Therefore, we request the court to issue a divorce decree." Complete silence fell over the court. The judge picked up his pen and started writing the decision. After hearing all arguments and the failed attempt at 6 months of reconciliation, the court has reached the conclusion that the hatred between the parties has increased to such an extent that living together as husband and wife is not possible. Therefore, the court issues a divorce decree in favor of Nora Bennett. Cameron held his head. Nora took a long breath, as if she was suffocating, and now she had found air. The judge continued. "Cameron Hayes will immediately pay the entire settlement amount. With this, the case is dismissed." Nora Bennett's imprisonment ended. Cameron came to Nora with stumbling steps. "You didn't do well, Nora. You are leaving me, but the world won't let you live." Nora looked at him with great calm. "Don't worry about me, Cameron. You tried to break me, but you forgot that God makes broken things the best. Goodbye." Nora Bennett was walking out through the long corridors of the court. She stepped out of the gate. The afternoon sun was spread outside. She had just stood by the roadside to hail a taxi when her eyes fell on a person standing near a heavy bike. Dressed in a white t-shirt and jeans, with the same old innocence on his face and years of waiting in his eyes, stood Austin. Austin, the boy who lived on Nora's very street. He loved Nora with all his heart and soul. 2 years ago, he had proposed to Nora, but Nora's parents had refused, saying, "Our status and class are different. Our daughter will suffer." Austin had left silently at that time, but he never married. Seeing him there today, Nora couldn't believe her eyes. She walked slowly toward him. Austin straightened up when he saw her coming. "You?" Nora's voice choked up. "What are you doing here?" Austin clenched his bike key in his fist. "I found out that today is your final decision. My heart didn't agree to leave you alone." Tears involuntarily spilled from Nora's eyes. "Do you know, Austin, what has happened to me? I have come out with a divorce. I am no longer that Nora. People look at me with suspicion." Austin shook his head. He took a step forward. "You were Nora to me then, when your parents rejected me because of my low income, and you are still the same Nora to me today, when you have come out fighting the world. Nora, relationships are made by hearts, not bank balances and social class. Honor lies in a person's character, not in circumstances. Whatever happened to you was not your fault. You are a fighter who did not bow down to tyranny." Nora sobbed. "But Austin, I have nothing to give you now." "Your existence is enough for me," Austin said in a strong tone. "I have waited for you for 2 years. I don't want wealth. I don't want false glory. I only want you. I will give you the respect that is your right. I will place balm on your every wound, if you give me permission." Nora looked at him with mixed emotions of surprise and happiness. She had thought her life was over after the divorce, but God had opened that door for her, which her parents had closed. Where Cameron Hayes had made her walk on thorns, Austin stood there to spread flowers. "Will you really accept me?" Nora asked in a trembling voice. "With my past?" Austin extended his right hand toward Nora. "Your past makes you strong, not weak. I don't care about your past, Nora. I want to be the partner of your present and future. Come, hold my hand. Now you won't have to fight alone." Nora looked at the court building for a moment, then looked at the sky and thanked God, and then placed her hand in Austin's hand. Austin held her hand firmly. In this touch, there was no lust, but a sense of protection. "Let's go." Austin smiled and extended the helmet toward her. "Shall I drop you home? Now no one will object to you sitting on my bike, right?" Nora laughed amidst her tears. "No, now no one will object." She placed her hand on Austin's shoulder and sat on the bike. Austin started the engine. Nora felt that the gusts of wind had become even more pleasant. She thought that Cameron Hayes had left her so that God could unite her with the person who truly deserved her. The idols of social status and class had been broken, and true love had won. Austin's bike disappeared into the traffic, but a new and beautiful journey of Nora Bennett's life had begun. This story exposes the bitter reality that when power and wealth dominate humanity, laws and relationships become meaningless. But the characters of Nora Bennett and Austin prove that if truth and love are together, darkness does not last forever. And how did you like this story? Please express your opinion after reading and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.